Hi, we're the Swensons, the family behind Let's Adventure Some More.
And this year we decided to ditch our San Francisco Bay Area lifestyle for a trip around the world.
This is week 10, and we're still in Australia, working our way down from Cairns to Brisbane.
Good day from Brisbane.
And now it's time for This Country at a Glance.
Australia is an island, country, continent, all in one.
It's made up of 6 states and 2 territories. Our road trip this week took us from North Queensland to South Queensland.
Australia is home to some very unique animals, such as a kangaroo, emu, wallaby, koala, and kookaburra bird.
It's the 6th largest country in the world.
It's the only continent without an active volcano.
It first started as an England colony for prisoners.
The Great Barrier Reef sits off the coast of Queensland and is considered the world's largest living organism. It's also one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
So before leaving Cairns, we did a couple of big things, what the area is well known for, the Great Barrier Reef.
We took all 3 kids on a little boat, a couple hours out to the Great Barrier Reef, and strapped them all up into these cute little thin wetsuit-ish looking skater suits, like speed skating on ice skates. And that's to protect you from all the jellyfish stings. This is jellyfish season. And so if you didn't wear it, you'd very likely end up itchy and scratchy and all
pain.
wilted. Yes.
Lots of
So we were styling and as we went into the water. It was kind of fun.
And we actually didn't see any, which was good, but we were protected just in case.
Yeah. I saw a sea turtle. We all saw it from afar. I finally went out and found it again. Got to hang out with it, pretty close in fact. But we saw a lot of fish. We saw a lot of reef life. We saw some clams. It was cool.
And I was very proud of the kids. We did 2 stops on the boat where you would get out and snorkel, and they went out both times and had a blast. They were giggling and loving seeing all the fish. Ezra was totally out on his own. The other 2 I brought out individually, and William took them. So we each had one of the littler ones just to kind of watch over them as we went snorkeling. And then they went back on the boat, and William and I got some time out on our own as well.
Just the 2 of us.
Yeah, so it was fun. And the crew was amazing. They totally were great service. They had wonderful food. They totally were all about the kids. The captain spent a lot of time with the boys, showing him what all the instruments were.
They got to drive the boat.
Yes, so they were super excited about that. And then another guide kind of walked us through some of the books that Ezra was looking at about the different animals that we would see out there. So it was a very cool experience and just great service. We totally loved it.
So very family friendly. We should name it and actually put
down
it
in the comments below. I'll make sure to include it.
Yeah, if we don't. One of the other opportunities that we took while here was to go to Mossman's Gorge in the Daintree National Forest, and we got to go on a dream walk with a genuine descendant of the Aboriginal people. Aaron was super cool, knew a lot about the area. In fact, the little village that we had to drive through to get there was populated by most of his family. So it was really cool to get out there and see, hearing him speak and introduce us to his ancestors in his ancestral language, walking through some sacred grounds, and even getting to jump in the Mossman River. Very cool and refreshing activity.
He also kind of went through some of the plants and the various uses, medicinal or food. He also talked about the really poisonous ones and how there were so many animals and plants there that could kill you. While we were in the Cairns area, we decided to stay in Kawara Beach, which is much more of a local area, less touristy. And they had a beach there near our place that we were staying at.
Just a couple minutes walk away.
So we walked there, and they have the netting for the jellyfish because, it's stinger season. So they usually section off a piece of the beach where you can play and theoretically swim safely. But when we got there was a giant sandwich board sign that said there has been a croc sighting here recently. And not being locals, I wasn't sure about the safety and was a little nervous. So we talked to a local, and she said it was really fine, but that we could go to a different beach and have a lifeguard. So we opted to do that. So we went to Trinity Beach and spent over 3 hours in the water and exploring and finding, what were they? Shell?
Oh, we found clams.
And
a whole bunch of clams, and it was fun to pull them out of the sand. The kids were picking them up and getting licked, and they had a hoot.
And we were safe and had a lifeguard.
Well, we only had a lifeguard for about half the time because the lifeguard packed up and left, but there were still a bunch of people in the water, so we felt relatively safe.
Yes, there's a lot more people than our local beach.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts on Australia so far?
It's big, and it's Australian, and they all speak with an accent.
An awesome accent.
It's actually pretty cool. I like it.
So now being in Australia, the pricing as far as costs go are a lot different than Southeast Asia. So to offset some of that and still stay within our budget, there's a few tricks that we've been using to kind of help us, and one of them is a relocation service. It's a standby car, and so basically what you're doing is helping the rental company get the vehicle to the new location for the new renters. And so usually it's way more cheaper to have the car. You can sometimes get extra days. So we did our first relocation to get us from North Queensland down to South Queensland in Brisbane.
So we are in a very large vehicle. It's a Toyota Hi-Ace, and it's basically a minivan set up as a commuter vehicle, lots of seats in it, 12 seats in fact. And we named this vehicle Vinny the Van.
And at first, all the kids were so excited. They each had their own row. And
they were in heaven up until they got lonely.
And then they all grouped together and moved forward to our area. So it was really funny how quickly they totally gave up their personal space so that they could all be together.
It was really cute, actually.
Yeah, and we had a great luxurious drive. It was very smooth and very fun. I didn't really want to give it up when we got to the Brisbane location, but it made it really easy for us to get from point A to point B. So one thing we learned about Australia, we of course knew it's huge. The country is huge, and just going coastal, in California, we're used to driving 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to get from one place to another within California. So we're like, sure, we can do Australia. We're master road trippers. And then we get here and it's 8-hour day, 2 days, and not just one day to get to your location, plus another 4 hours. So we were feeling it by the end. And then we realized also, seeing some of the signs, that falling asleep is a big deal in this area because the distances are so long and people try to push it and will sometimes cause major disasters. And so the government is trying to help with that or encourage you to stop and pull over. So one of the signs was a driver reviver.
Driver reviver, and they boast having free coffee and tea. Every time you pull over, they're not open. And we come to find out after asking some of the locals that this was a program started by the government and essentially built by the government but put into the hands of the local communities, and it's all run on a volunteer basis. If no volunteers are present, then they don't even bother opening them. So the rest stops are there, but there's no free coffee and tea, which we were all excited about until we couldn't find any.
Yeah, and it just sounds like most of them kind of died away because there's so many gas stations, petrol stations now, that you can just get a cup of coffee there. And then the other thing they had were trivia questions to help you keep awake. So that was kind of fun, seeing those signs. And then the other thing, when we were driving, we really felt like we were in tropical Montana.
You could look out and just see all over. It was gorgeous. It was green, but it was tropical green, not foresty green. And it was, tropical Montana by the sea.
We took about 3 days to get Vinny the van to its new home in Brisbane. We stopped along the way at various places, did a couple of Airbnbs, a nice apartment.
Got to see some kangaroos along the way.
Yeah. So it was great. We're hoping to do another relocation as we continue down the coast of Eastern Australia. So hopefully we'll have more experiences on the road. Good ones.
Yes. Good and fulfilling experiences.
Checklist. And we've been able to connect with a community here, so we'll have dinner with them this week and hang out with some Brisbane Australians. We came down to Brisbane to house sit, so another one of our little tricks to keep in the budget in a first world developed country is house sitting. So we are house sitting for a sweet family here in Brisbane while they're on holiday and watching their pets in their house, and it is gorgeous house, beautiful Queenslander style.
Yeah.
And they have books with covers and pages and
paper, dead tree paperback. We're like,
which the kids have not had for some time. So we haven't really seen them all that much between the books and the toys and the trampoline out back. So it's been a great time to kind of recover from Bali and from the fast-moving road trip. So we're looking forward to exploring a little bit of Brisbane and resting up.
Mm-hmm.